Today, we're talking about whether or not accountants can actually be cool. Yeah, that's right. Not all of us can, right, Matthew?
Oh,
Some
I
of
know
us
the answer
can.
for me.
So we'll talk about being cool in accounting and whatever that means. Also want to get into some surprising information in the venture capital world. We do a lot of work with venture capital backed companies at Acuity, and I've got some information that Matthew is going to, I think, find interesting, and so many of the rest of you out there. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with a question that's been coming up from clients about something called BOI, what? Beneficial ownership information. So I don't know what's going on with it. Hopefully Matthew does, because the question keeps popping up. So we'll talk a little bit about those things today on Drink What You Think, the Happy Hour podcast. Just discussion amongst a couple of guys building their accounting firm in really weird ways. I'm your host, Kenji. It's my co-host over there, Matthew. Very importantly, Matthew, what are you drinking today?
I don't know. You tell everybody. You brought it to me.
I brought it
This
to
is the
you.
super turbo from one of your favorite breweries, you said,
Oh
right?
my gosh, I love that brewery. That is a kind of a
Have you
rice
tried this
beer.
beer before?
Yeah, I have. I love it. It's really crisp. It's really light. It's great on a hot
And
day.
there's hieroglyphics on the top of the can. Is that right?
It's Japanese, Matthew. I mean, how dare you? Not that I can read it, but yeah, so it'll be real light. It's a rice beer. It doesn't have wheat in it. So it's like a Kirin or Japanese style beer. But I like it. My favorite brewery here in town called Halfway Crooks. If you're ever in Atlanta, please check it out. They've got a killer patio. It's awesome. I brought that to Matthew. And
Halfway
I'm
across.
drinking another Atlanta local beer, Wild Leap. It's the Side Bay.
I
Do you know what
haven't had
Bay?
that one.
Do you know what Bay means, Matthew?
No,
BAE. Is that like
just like
BOI?
you don't know what BOI means. I don't know what BAE means.
Well, next time you go talk to Laura, just call her Bay. Hey, Bay. Hey, Bay. It means it's slang for like baby. What's up, girl? Hey, Bay. It's your side Bay. Actually, it's probably dangerous. Your
Are you
side Bay.
going? Are you getting into the first topic where I'm not cool? Like, like out of the gate?
Yes, we are. You don't know that, but yes, check out your side Bay.
Cheers,
It's a
man.
nice, yeah, cheers. Hmm. Oh, mine's a 7.6 there. Yours is light. Double IPA, a little punch the palate there.
Mine's a 5.0, but
Easy.
it tastes like water.
Mm-hmm. That's good, man. I'm telling you, you can crush those things. It's a tall boy, isn't it? It's kind of taller.
Yeah, it's a tall boy. It's a pint.
Okay, so let's jump in, and we already know that you're not cool. You don't even know what Bay means. But now let's talk about the industry at large, Matthew. You're not
Okay.
alone if you don't feel cool. So there's an article that came out. I'll pull it up for us here in your favorite publication, Matthew. Which is what's your favorite publication?
Journal of Accountancy.
Bingo, winner. Did you
Or is
still,
it right? Was I right?
dude, were
Okay.
you right? How about we take a look and see? Yes, Matthew, you are correct. The Journal of Accountancy. I don't know if you've seen the digital version, because I think you still get the paper version, and I think you read
Yeah,
it. You used to
that's all
always
right.
travel with it in your computer bag, and it would crack me up. But we've got a new AICPA chair. I don't know if you knew this, Carla McCall. And Carla is saying that we need to promote the cool work we do. This will help bring more people to the accounting profession by promoting the cool work that we do. Now, this is a little unfair. We're just going off this kind of one quote that got pulled out as the tagline. Uh, get your first initial reaction to that, and then I'll share a little bit more about what Carla's talking about.
Well, I'm totally up with that. Like I had this experience on the RAB advisory board. Like I started it, I was standing here too,
On
and
what on the what
you
which advisory board?
the ramp one.
Hmm.
So they just kicked that off. And
Nice.
I've been doing stand-in desk for this, which gives a bit different background. So you see my Lance jerseys.
I do like it.
And
Yeah.
so like along these lines, I was like, oh, they're like, what's the story behind the jersey? I was like, oh, I did the audit for the bike team, like during the time when they were winning all the tours, right?
Yeah.
So I got to do the audit of the contract. They had bought an insurance policy if that paid out if Lance won three in a row, four in a row, or five in a row, like a hole in one policy. We were geeking out about that. And I felt like, oh, that's a cool story that like that she's talking about, right? That we
That, that
should
that's
talk
that's
about.
actually it's a good point. I think Carla is making that point of like, there's some cool stuff we get to do. Like, that's a great example, like a cool
So
client
everybody has
there.
one of those stories.
Right, right.
You have
There's
your
mine.
masters.
There's
Yeah.
mine, right? Old client of mine, Augusta National, and all the cool things I got to do there. We've had some cool ones at Acuity,
Yeah, not
Spanx.
everybody got to live at Augusta National for whatever 90
They
days or
didn't.
so.
Longer than that.
How many days were you there? Did you know
Long
the
time.
day count
Almost
or
a whole
month count?
summer. Almost a whole summer. It was basically a whole summer. So,
Well, that's 90 days.
I know, even more. I stretched it out as much as I could. Anyway, yeah, I think there's cool. Would you
Whether
say
it's
that's
living at Augusta National or working with, people winning the Tour de France 5 times in a row, like
was that
any,
the coolest? Was that the coolest accounting experience you had?
it's not the coolest accounting experience I had. I don't know. Some of the crypto stories are still more fun.
I know.
Just because like that was like I was a sideline person in the Lance days, and then like for the crypto stuff, like I'm the one
You
traveling to
were.
the like Cayman or BVI or like
What
working
was
with
the
the
time when
team.
you traveled? You traveled to the Caymans, and how much on that cold storage devices? Like on the,
We
how
had
much did you have?
we had $750 million, and we had all the private keys with us. It was crazy. It was somewhere between 750 million and $1 billion. I can't remember what it was. It was like it was way north of half a billion. So
That is, that sounds like a movie, dude. Sounds like a,
yeah, I'm
doesn't
gonna
it?
write a movie about it one day when the crypto gets more mainstream. So
Yeah, yeah, that was an interesting one for sure. I think I've mentioned that thing before in here too, that the day that Forbes came in and interviewed Sarah Blakely,
oh
put
yeah.
on the cover for the youngest self-made female billionaire being in the office that day with them as a client. That was pretty cool. There are some cool, I get glad you took it that way. I'm glad you took it a way that I did not take Carl's comments. I took it and I honestly rolled my eyes. I was like, I just when I don't know, I always hear about people, we want to promote how cool things are. We want to talk about how cool things are. And you're like, I, it drives me crazy, the talkers. Like, let's just spin. It feels like a spin story. You know what I mean? And it drives me a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
know it's
nuts.
it's hard though because like accountants work hardwired. Like I can talk about it 10 years later, but like there's some confidentiality piece to some of the client stuff, like even some of the crypto stuff. I waited 2 or 3 years to talk about it, before that. Like just so we had some distance from that. Like so it's
Yeah.
interesting. Like I see what she's saying, but like some of these stories, like well, we're pretty good confidants, like for like a profession. Like people tell us stuff so it doesn't get out, and we're in the cool stuff.
I
And
will say, do you remember there was a tech media reporter in Atlanta who used to hound you and I
oh man,
because he always wanted all the scoop on tech companies, and he'd come up and talk to us like, I know you guys know everything going on. And the answer was we didn't know everything, but we actually knew a ton that was going on. Like we
we knew
knew
a
behind the
lot.
scenes what's
We
happening.
knew
And
a
he
lot,
always,
like
and I used
about
to see
management
him.
team issues. We knew about
I used to see him
fundraising.
and I used to avoid him. And he knew that. Like everyone who knows me knows I don't avoid anybody. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? This guy I used to be scared of because he was hunting me down because he wanted scoop on that. And like that's to your point, we're got a lot of privileged information that we're not going to talk about, especially to a guy writing in a newspaper. So yeah, those things are kind of cool. I guess I was reading some of this got spun up, and a lot of folks are talking about this. And so maybe it's beating the dead horse about this. Well, let's make accounting cool. I really liked a post that Chase Berkey, who's one of the founders of Dark Horse, spinning up about this. So maybe we can point people to the post to go kind of get into that conversation. And I always have great respect when Chase speaks up about something because um, he he's a doer, he's a builder first, like right versus
Yeah,
then a talker. So I think he's pretty thoughtful. It's something that I admire in people and about them, and I try to be is like I'd rather go do it and build it than like talk about it. I don't mind talking about it afterwards because then I can talk about all the mistakes I made, you and I made doing it. But
right.
like it sometimes when it's like, let's have a conversation about it, or it's like, how about people just go freaking do it, right? And that was a little bit of Chase's point of like, hey,
Yeah,
you need to, if you identify that there's some tough things about this space. We talked, last episode about mental wellness and things. There's some tough stuff about it. We can't avoid that. But what steps are people taking? Are you gonna are you going to sit there and bitch and moan about it? And I'm not saying that Carl is saying like we're going to gloss over those things. I like that she's looking for some positive stories, but some of the times it kind of smacks as like, if we put the right promotion or put the spin on it, we'll show all the kids it's cool. It's like, I
Well,
think
I mean, just like
Chase is, yeah,
anything, if you don't do it authentically,
correct.
like it rings hollow. And it does feel like a desperation kind of move in some ways.
Yeah,
But like if you take it on its face, like and give her the benefit of the doubt, you're like, oh, we all have a bunch of stories that are kind of fun stories that we haven't shared broadly. We
right.
like to complain about hours and stuff like we don't complain about hours because we've kind of built it into our lives to like have doable jobs. But like
But see that right there is the difference. That's the thing right there. The words it gets me is where everyone can be right on this one, honestly. She can be too. Like there are cool stories. We need to get some better, maybe marketing in the profession. But if you really want to do something, I mean, if you don't like it, get in and change it. And we're like, we're going to go in and change things. I think that's what you see
oh, yeah.
other progressive firms. That's why I called out Chase. I'm like, oh, he's doing the same thing. He's like, I didn't like Big Four. I wasn't going to sit here and just complain about it. I'm going to go build something different, right? And
Right,
so you do need probably a bit of both those things. I think I tend to lean in the camp more of just the doers. Like I'm going to keep
right.
my mouth shut and go do it. But I guess as the chairperson for the AICPA, clearly she's had to do a lot to get to where she has. And we do need someone out there up front, like speaking in about the future of the profession. So
Right. I think if she comes out this with like, hey, we should be telling stories about the great stuff about the stuff, like that's a great messaging, right? If it's like manufacturing BS, like
that's a different thing. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and she's new. She's got to get in there and got to have some, some sizzle to the new chairmanship. And again, nothing like pulling a quote out of the air and saying, "Hey, let's put this to byline. Let's make accounting cool again." And you're like, it reminds me of, if someone has to tell you that they're cool, they're definitely not cool, right?
definitely
Hey,
not cool.
it's okay, bro. All right, cool. And you're like, oh, no, I think that just definitely
Well, I
disqualifies
think a
you.
lot of accountants self-identify as not cool, like
I
me
know.
too. Like I don't give a shit if I'm like cool. How like you want me to tell people where I have like a great life and work-life balance and manage like my family and like
Yeah.
personal life? Like, is this a great profession for that? Hell yeah, it is.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, it
Like,
can be.
so,
Absolutely.
am I cool? No. Like, so like, I mean, I've had some cool experiences. Like, like I'm
All
not
right,
cool.
cool.
Like, I am
I
not
do.
cool in any. Yeah, you're looking the wrong half of the partnership if you
But
want cool.
also, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you something that is also, I think, very cool. And so it's like the opposite of what I just told you about the people who tell you they're cool. Like you, you, the fact that you have little like no ego, you just don't care. Like you're like, I just don't care. There's a coolness to that too. Like I don't give a shit. I don't
I,
care. Like
I
I'm
don't
not
care about
trying to be
being.
anything.
I don't care about being cool. I care about a lot of things. I just
That's
don't
true.
care about
That's what I'm
being
saying.
considered cool. I'd rather
Yeah.
be like I'd rather somebody say at the end of the day, I like made a dent in the earth. I like there's 100 things in front of cool
More
that
in
I'd
front of
rather
cool.
be like, you know, I made a difference. I did lots of things, but nah, not
Good point. Point
cool
well
is not on
taken.
my list. So
Not up there. So, okay. Well,
yeah.
we
Much
got to
to the
figure
chagrin when people want me to go out dancing with you guys, like of
clubs
everybody,
late
of
at
all of our
night and all
friends,
the
right?
fun things in Vegas. I know. Well, that's not even cool. Well, I don't know if it's cool. It's silly. It can be fun, but it can be a little tiring too. So, all right. Well, let's get into kind of our next topic. And this one I found really interesting. So Matthew, do you have any idea what has been the largest venture capital backed exits in 2024?
The
The
largest
largest, yeah,
venture capital backed exit
yeah,
in 24.
in 2024.
Well, Splunk was the largest deal of all
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I don't know if they were venture backed though. They were public, but I don't know. I don't know if you
Well, this one's
are
this
you
one's a
are
little
you
this is under the radar, and this is really here's what's really going to surprise you. It's also an accounting related technology.
Oh,
And it's not one I don't think you or anyone's heard of before.
I have no clue.
But yeah, it threw me, it surprised me too. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And
Well, the
so it
Splunk to
was
Cisco deal was the biggest deal in history, but that
yeah,
must not be the venture back deal.
no, check this out. Um, so an auditing startup had the largest M&A exit here so far this year. It's a company called Audit Board. And it's, granted, it's not just accounting, but it just is interesting. It's like, so it,
3 billion?
3 billion over to a UK based company. I don't know if it's another private equity firm or someone came and got it, but like super interesting audit board. And then it kind of got into this whole other section about like, hey, VCs are kind of interested in audit and compliance work, talking about, there's the Flowcast of the world, they've gone and
Heard of
raised a good
them.
bit more. Yeah, I mean, they've raised over 300 million. There's a $100 million round here just in the last month. So there's some interesting things there. A couple of other, you know, just I will link to these accounting related startups. I mean, fundings,
Arrow's
450.
67 million now.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. Paro's down there. It's at 56, but 450 million so far raised in venture funding to accounting related categories.
Oh
That's
yeah, that
kind of
doesn't even
wild, isn't it?
count. Like I saw that Relay just took like
Relay
32
just took,
million.
yeah. So they're
Like
not on
that's
here
not even,
yet.
this is not picking up the fintech either.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't
Interesting.
realize, isn't that crazy? Isn't that through? I mean, Restaurant
Oh, we know the tax
365,
bit.
look at so interesting stuff, right? Like I think we've seen that there's been some activity lately.
Hmm.
I wasn't aware that it was kind of, you get in your bubble, right? You're like, oh yeah, there's some activity. And look what's happening kind of I mean, how do you read that? Like in the overall venture market that like, oh, activity's still fairly strong. We had a good exit in our space and funding's decent compared to the overall venture capital market, which is way down. It's like the accounting tech kind of keeps plugging along, right? Is
I
that
mean, it's the plumbing, dude. I'm just telling you, compliance is the plumbing. So I mean, it ain't sexy sometimes, but
it's
man,
not.
that one looks like it has teeth because they said 3 billion and at a 200 million in revenue. So they're getting a stupid revenue multiple on that, right?
They are. They are.
Wow.
It's interesting thinking about that. I mean, we've seen this. We talk about our space a lot of other ways, right? We've seen private equity who've entered accounting, and they've talked about, well, we like it, right? It's good cash flow. It is the plumbing of kind of the business world, if you will say. And it tends to be relatively stable and resistant to recessions and things. And so it sounds like even some of the technology partners who venture is not really putting into necessarily the services. I guess Paro's got some service aspect. That's probably really more of a platform. Um, but even that seems to be somewhat resilient to some of these nuances. So it makes sense to me. I just hadn't seen it presented in that way. So what should that do for us from an Acuity Invest standpoint? Should we be more bullish? Should we? It probably means evaluations are a little higher on
That
accounting
means
tech.
we should be encouraging people to buy our portfolio companies. That's what that's what that means. Provide us some liquidity, please.
Come
So
on, folks, come take a look at all
we
these
did get
great.
good news this week on one of them, so that was good. So
Oh, we did. Not an accounting related one, really.
no, well, they're
More
fintech.
fintech, crypto. That was good news there. So here we
Shout
have.
out to
I
Yellow Card. So
go yellow card. Anything else you want to mention there on you think around accounting
well, I mean,
tech
I
or
think the big takeaway was like when we were at the Fulcrum annual meeting this year, which was one of the private equity firms in town. I think they were really interesting talking about how premium deals are still getting done. Like when people talk
yeah,
about the overall activity going down, the premium deals aren't seeing any valuation, as big of a valuation like
yeah,
trim. Like, and if you look at this, 200 million in revenue, getting a 3 billion valuation, like that's another proof point for that comment that they made at their annual meeting. Is like premium deals are really competitive. If you're doing great in your space, if you're the best in your space, you're still going to have a great outcome. Like those deals are not getting, those deals are getting priced accordingly. And if you're mediocre or lagging, like that's when you're going to struggle. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I
So,
guess that's you hear the analogy a lot about when the tide goes out, you can finally see who's not wearing their bathing suit, right?
yeah,
So, that's that concept of okay, the tide's gone out, and all those who are not wearing their suit like get washed away, but the ones who are still standing there, and they're in their suits, are in good shape, and they're going to stay in good shape because you've kind of you've leveled the playing field out a bit more, where those with actual performance metrics and gains on others can now stand out differently. So you've really kind of got a
yeah,
more fair space to see folks. So that's good to hear that. And it's good. It's very good and healthy to see. I think that accounting tech's doing well. We like that.
yep.
Those are our friends out there. We
Yeah,
depend on those great tools.
I'd love to see a couple of them, ramp gusto, like kind of get to some kind of liquidity event, like we're
Yeah.
rippling and stuff like that. Like, so like they've been high flyers. Let's see if they get out and get public or whatever they're going to do.
The thing, and yeah, I completely agree because one, we have tons of friends over there who do very well, which that's always fun to see, and folks who, but also we're old enough and have been around long enough, you and I have seen in markets like Atlanta, where if you get certain types of industries where suddenly there are liquidity events, next thing you know, you get people coming out of those companies with liquidity who start creating more and more
Cool things in that
cool things in
space.
companies. So it creates a cool virtuous cycle where, like, wow, if you had Gusto go do an IPO, if
Yeah.
you had, think about some others, who are out there, then wow, there'd be suddenly a ton of people coming out of there who are there who helped build that, who now have big chunks who may say, hey, great, I either want to invest in some startups in the accounting space or payroll space, whatever it might be, or I want to go start some new things. So it's a good virtuous cycle when we see. So hopefully that right now we're seeing good funding going in, or maybe our first nice exit. We see more exits. Hopefully that capital stays in the accounting tech community, which would be super cool. Anyway,
That makes me a little sad for the MailChimp one, because there's not going to be
yeah.
that ripple effect, unless those two guys kind of just make a dent
Well,
in
that
there.
was such an unusual one with
That's such an unusual exit.
Ben
It
and
really
Dan.
is.
Well, Ben and Dan, who owned the whole thing. I mean, really, there weren't other
So
employees who had equity and things, but they
yeah,
were smart to do it that way.
maybe they'll buy Arthur out and we'll have new owners of the Falcons and
Of the
United at some
Falcons.
point. Or
I think that'd be cool. Like, what if you did, I keep saying that I want our soccer club to have since soccer teams can have corporate sponsors on the front jersey. I'm not super huge fan of American Family Insurance. It just doesn't seem that cool. Like, there's a bunch of other brands in Atlanta that would be cooler to have on our Atlanta MLS team.
MailChimp would be awesome.
Mailchimp would be cool. Like, that'd be a cool one. I've always said like Delta would be great.
Delta would be
Coca-Cola,
cool.
Home Depot. There'd be some cool ones, like better than American Family Insurance. No offense, we all need insurance, but not exactly that.
Coca-Cola. Why wouldn't Coca-Cola do it? Wouldn't that be
Seriously.
something?
I mean, those would be dope jerseys. Are
Oh,
you kidding me? Like Coke
dude,
jerseys?
and the red jerseys that came out of that would be sweet.
I would love those.
We
See,
could have the original, we could have the Diet Coke jersey.
yeah.
We could have
Because look at the
the
other good
regular
ones.
Coke jersey.
Seattle's still got Xbox, right? There's an Xbox that's kind of cool. And then Austin FC's got Yeti. I mean, those are
Oh,
cool, kind
Yeti's
of
pretty
like
cool.
that's
That's pretty
pretty
cool.
cool.
That's so Austin.
That's very Austin. We got to step up the
I don't
game
think
there.
that's an Austin company. That's very Austin for a non-Austin.
It's Austin. They're an Austin company. Yeah, they're very
Yeti
Austin.
is?
Yeah. Yeah, Yeti's from Austin. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So all
Man,
right,
I leave for a few years and it shit happens, huh?
cool shit happens. Let's see, last topic. What's this whole thing about? Like, you're trying to teach me, or clients are asking you about Bay?
Oh
What is it? Was it
man, my
Bay? Is
clients
it
are
Bay?
asking about
Oh,
BOI and
BOI.
tax
Oh,
people know this and accountants in the line know this. Kenji doesn't know this. But so like for those of you that are playing catch up, like FinCEN put a ruling out that they're going to require us to list all the owners of every entity in the United States, basically. And they put the same penalty on it that they have for like foreign filers that like foreign like if you can sign a foreign bank account and don't report it, it's like a $10,000 fine. So it's a huge fine for not reporting it. But so clients are asking about it, and some complexity happened where like some of the states are suing FinCEN saying they don't have the right to do this now. So, like this is reminiscent to me of the tax change for the SaaS companies where
Can you tell folks who FinCEN is? What is it they do?
FinCEN is a pain in the ass if you ask the crypto people. So, um,
Not exactly
FinCEN,
what I asked, but I do like how you characterized it.
I mean, FinCEN is one of the regulatory bodies in the US has that is claiming kind of I guess accountability for this for understanding ownership across corporations. Historically, that's not how we thought of them. I guess with cryptocurrency, there was this kind of land grab for who was going to regulate cryptocurrency, and FinCEN was one of them. So FinCEN usually kind of like they took the money transmitter angle on it, and then like doing that. So I guess that's the angle they're taking with the BOI is like if money is changing hands, that they have purview. So IRS and crypto, it was IRS, SEC, FinCEN. I'm sure there was one other. There was a fifth that I always threw in there. But in this one with the business reporting of ownership, um, we've registered companies always with the states, but we've never had to declare ownership past the IRS, right? So this would require, and if you think of the administrative burden on this for a company, there's lots of clarifications we need, right? Like, are they going to make us register every option holder? Are
Right.
they going to, like for our SaaS clients, right? Are they going to, they're requiring you every, you have 30 days from when you change your cap table to be able to report it. So like I guess we have until December of this year to get compliant. So I guess probably one of the better recommendations kind of where we landed with folks is although we don't like putting things off, if you file now and then you do a cap table change between now and the end of the year, you have a 30-day clock to do it. So it's like a faster compliance. Technically, it's like a weird thing, maybe. We don't know because none of the interpretation's out, no guidance is out there. So we're telling people to kick the can until December, but like what December's like, November, December is gonna be like
Yeah.
if everybody's gonna be trying to slam these in, get them in, um, it's gonna be a nightmare. So this is a place where we're begging the government for some more guidance, FinCEN for more guidance, states for more clarity. Hopefully, cooler heads prevail. After the change with the tax code about R&D expenses 2 years ago, we are all saying it'll get fixed before it's due, it'll get fixed before it's due, and then it didn't. So we all got burned on that one. For those of us
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
trusted the AICPA and people saying that we're lobbying for this, don't worry about it. Well, Congress didn't get their shit together, and we got burned on that one. So on this one, I think we're going to have to be advising clients to just be prepared in Q4 to do this reporting, right? So we're gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to think about how we allocate staff to help people do this. So this one's a pain in the butt. It's really unfortunate that our kind of federal government, we have so many turf wars. This is it's kind of like anti-business to me, but they're facing on the flip side, they're facing this incredibly challenging environment where they've got people creating legal entities on legal entities to make things really not transparent.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess we created it as a capitalist society of this like web of bullshit.
You're gonna find the loopholes, right? You're gonna
So,
use lawyers and accountants to find those things. So
so,
I get
but
it.
like, I mean, I can't imagine when I was at El Paso Energy, we had 10,000 entities,
Oh,
like
there's a ton of them.
10,000 entities.
Think
Like,
about all the number of entities, and then each of those entities have multiple ownership. So it's a web for
so we
sure.
had we had 10,000 entities there, and I was like,
That's
you have
pretty extreme.
like we had a wall, which we had 10 SEC registrants. So we already had to do 10
That's
SEC
pretty
filings.
insane. Yeah.
We had 200 audit reports we had to deliver in corporate. So we had 200 audit
You,
reports, 10 SEC
you
filings.
know why
Yeah.
you're not cool
Yeah.
because you had to live in that kind of world. That's not cool. That's not cool.
Well, anybody that's ever lived in a big corporate accounting environment understands like, oh, like when you're trying to get 200 audits out, and I think I had like
That gives me like
I think I had
hives. I think are breaking
40
out
or
on you right
50 of
now.
them. You know how much time I spent on them? Like it's just like you're like just trying to roll those things out.
They're
Like
terrible.
that was
It's
with
terrible.
PwC as the auditor. Like so we had great auditors. Like it's just it was great.
In this whole BOI thing, what I do like about it is FinCEN I had to look it up. It's the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. That just sounds cool. Maybe that helps bring cool to accounting because it just sounds like, oh man.
Why can't they talk to the IRS? IRS has the K1s.
Yeah. Well, also I was wondering and then I want to shut this down because this is hurting my head, BOI and 200 audits and all that stuff. Like this is killing me. Um, is couldn't like you think about the cap table management companies, like they should be the ones who like, hey, can you build up some reporting and get that ready? Like, hey, if
Well,
you're
if they had any
part of
guidance,
the
like if FinCEN was given any guidance on what we were going to need to do,
or
you
I
would
would
think
yeah,
like I
yeah.
would go through Carta on this, yeah.
Go
Like
through court. I'd be like, yeah, it should be I think it's a big opportunity of like, hey, if this BOI is coming, like get on here. We're gonna make sure we have a compliant way if you're keeping your stuff on here that we can file it automatically for you or something like that. I mean, I move out of accounting mode into entrepreneurial mode right away. I'm like, okay, what do I do with this regulation to capitalize
yeah.
on it or to help
But if
people
you think
out?
of like
Like,
all the TikTok people telling people to set up LLCs here and there and everywhere,
oh,
now they have to do all this compliance. What are the with a $10,000 fine for non-compliance? $10,000
well,
per entity.
well,
Like,
listen, if people are listening to TikTok advice for accounting and it's not from the spicy accountant, Lori Lynn Wilson, then you're doing it wrong. You shouldn't be doing that.
shout
The only
out,
way,
Lori Lynn.
shout out to her. She's the only one who you should be following on TikTok when it comes to
She's an
accounting.
actual accountant.
Actual account, and then she can blow some nonsense up out there. But that
Oh,
said, it'll be interesting. So, all right, well, let's move to rating some of these beers, Matthew. I've got mine pulled up here first. This is the side bay, not BOI, bay, Matthew. What is how should you use the term bay again? I'm helping you be cool. Bay.
I don't remember. That
Oh,
was at the start of the episode. I don't remember anymore.
playing a very high gravity beer. I'm giving this, I'll tell you in a second. I'm giving the side bay. I don't know, I just like it. Hit right with me today. I'm using a 4.25. Um, the side bay. This is what you go and you call your girl. Like, hey, bay. It means baby. Like it's a term of endearment. Hey, bay. So
Okay,
go
and
talk.
I
You're
got
like,
one that they
whatever.
couldn't name, so they just kept doing double words. Super, super,
Super,
turbo,
super, super, super.
turbo.
Um, there it is. Halfway crooks. Give me your honest. You don't have to. What did you think about it?
It was really not good. It's like a three. I'm
Three.
gonna
Ooh,
just
three.
go straight three. It's a 275 that I'm getting a quarter point bump to for you. So
That's okay. Next time I'll just make sure I don't bring you any of those.
no, it's
So
just a little bit.
yeah, it's the opposite of what you enjoy. You love lots of flavor and taste. That is super light and crisp, like almost like
It tastes like a rice beer.
it is. It's what it is. It's rice beer. See, there you go. So for all of
It's
those
like
out
not
there,
my kind of beer.
all of those with gluten issues, we found a beer for you.
Well,
And
yeah, if you like that kind of beer, it'd be
for the
great.
rest of us who like gluten or can handle gluten and like all that, and Matthew likes all the other shit
Like
dumped into it,
for the rest of
chocolate,
us who like
coffee.
12% stouts, like this is not your beer. So cool, man.
This was nice though. Anyway, well, good catching up. And again,
Cheers.
hope everyone enjoys. Please let us know if there's topics you want us to cover, and we'll see you next time here on Drink What You Think.